Hello and welcome to Türkiye Talks. This week we are in our studio and I'm joined by Kadir Ustun. As usual, welcome Kadir.
Hi Bora,
to Istanbul.
Good to see you in person. We do this every week on the Zoom.
It's good to have you here. I think in Turkey most people are following these midterm elections. The political aspect of it is very important. But Mehmet Öz is a very popular name in Turkey. He was a TV personality.
Yes.
He was part of Oprah Winfrey show. Then he did his own show. Now he's a strong candidate, I think in Pennsylvania, right?
Yes.
And if he is elected, I think he will be the first Turkish senator. So that's also part of the story, and I'm sure most people in Turkey is waiting to see if he's going to be elected or not.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you noticed when you have come to Turkey, we are also in an election process.
Of course.
It's too early maybe, but it's not far. 7 or 8 months later, we will have presidential elections probably, if not earlier, we don't know it. So have you noticed an excitement in Turkey? It's always lively when it comes to elections and politics. I don't know how it is seen when you arrive. You noticed it, or it's just business as usual?
Of course, when we talk to family, friends, they're always asking how things look from outside about Turkey, Turkish politics domestically. As you know, it's in recent couple months, especially the debate has become much more intense inside Turkey about, the opposition, the expectations from the opposition, the so-called table of six, right? So there's pressure on them to put forward a candidate. There's pressure on them to put forward a common agenda, and then President Erdogan already is the candidate for the ruling party, AK party, and MHP. So there is I definitely sense that intensity more inside Turkey, of course, and I mean, as you said, there is 6-7 months, but you can feel this is going to be consequential, because the results of the elections will be very important for Turkey for the next 5 years. The funny thing with Turkish politics in recent years, of course, as you know, there have been many elections, and we often find it hard to find periods of stability for more than 2-3 years, right? When people look from outside, President Erdogan has been there 20 years, but during those 20 years, every other year there is some major crisis or some sort of election cycle, etc. The presidential system debates, constitutional debates, constitutions was changed, etc. So all of that is now kind of coming to an apex, and next 6 months we're gonna feel that intensity increase, and I think we don't feel it that much in the U.S., but for Turkey, of course, the particular importance of the Senate election in Pennsylvania is famous in Turkey for other reasons. As you know, the FETÖ leader is there, living there. But Mehmet Öz, his chances have increased in recent weeks, partly because his opponent, Democrat Fetterman, had a health issue, and that's become part of the debate, whether he can actually handle the job as a senator. So that's been helping Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is an American celebrity by now. He's also a person of Turkish origin. So Turkey is closely following that as well. But we'll see how that turns out. if the first Turkish, senator, American senator, is elected, to he's got Trump's support. He's used quite a bit of a Trumpian rhetoric. We'll see if that works for him, because Pennsylvania is an interesting state. It has some highly densely populated cities, Philadelphia, for instance. You need big turnout in those cities. So we'll see. He has a tough job ahead, but his chances have increased in recent weeks. Yeah.
Well, we know that foreign policy is not one of the top issues in general in elections. People don't vote according to foreign policy, but this is something that we follow closely. So having you here in the studio, I thought maybe we can use this opportunity to talk about the foreign policy issues in general. Things are happening around Turkey. One of them is the Russian-Ukrainian war. We don't know if there is going to be another grain deal, because there are signs that Russians may not be willing to continue that. We know in the battlefield, very harsh conflict is going on. Ukrainians are pushing Russians back from certain positions, and now they are looking for new air defense systems, new weapons. So it seems that this war will continue, maybe more. It started in, if I'm not wrong, in March, right? In February.
Yeah.
So it's been almost how many months?
8 months.
8 months.
9 months. Yeah.
So it's going to continue. We know that Turkey recently has launched a new foreign policy, which is not so based on security issues, because security was top priority in 1920, 14, 15, 16, when there was the Syrian war, terror, and the coup attempt. But now we see that Turkey feels more confident and trying to recalibrate its relations vis-a-vis some regional powers, including Israel, for example. And the defense minister of Israel will be in Turkey this week. So this is something didn't happen for the last 10 or maybe 11 years. We are having first Israeli defense minister after Mavi Marmara incident. So maybe we can start from that maybe. Although Turkey is still supporting the Palestinian cause, Turkey is making statements in defense of the holy places in Jerusalem and criticizing Israel's attitude. But the ambassadors will be working. They have been assigned to their position. So we see a development in that relationship. But what are the constraints? What are the opportunities? How we should analyze this so-called maybe normalization process?
I mean, you said it yourself. Constraints are largely political. Turkey's support for Palestinians is always there. Whenever Israelis are seen as using heavy-handed policies and violating Palestinian rights and building new settlements, etc., those are things that receive Turkish criticism. But at the same time, economic relations have continued, trade has continued, trade has increased over the past several years. And then, there were regional reasons for Turkey and Israel to make up. And then there were political reasons. Regional reasons largely is about, changing dynamics in the Middle East. Israel now having, normalizing with a number of countries in the Middle East, Arab countries included. at the same time, there's the Ukraine war, as you said. There's the energy dimension in the Eastern Mediterranean. There was a number of countries, Greece, Cyprus, well, Greek Cyprus, and then Egypt, Israel, trying to come together and use those energy sources, natural gas sources, and export them to Europe. And that was an attempt to kind of sideline or exclude Turkey, which wasn't going to work. It wasn't feasible. And Turkey's agreement with Libya, the maritime deal, prevented that from happening. So Turkey showed that it wasn't going to stand by and just, be outside these developments. So the relations being normalized with Israel allows Turkey to be included in that conversation. I don't know if Greece and Egypt will agree to it, but Turkey already made some gestures towards Egypt about this. So it would be helpful for the region for Turkey to be included in this conversation. How do we, develop Eastern Mediterranean resources in a way we don't confront each other and then export them to Europe? And this is in the interest of all these countries. Turkey doesn't have these natural gas resources. It's going to, function as a transit route, most logical and most feasible transit route. There's that. Politically, the change of government in Israel helps. Netanyahu and President Erdogan didn't have a great relationship, to say the least. And the new president in Israel, the new prime minister, they have better rapport with President Erdogan, and President Erdogan was practical enough to take advantage of that change of government to make some gestures towards Israel. So there's sort of, as you said, Israel already sent its ambassador. Turkey named the ambassador. I don't know if he's physically there now, but it's just a matter of time. So, so there is some positive momentum on that front. Constraints, as we both mentioned, if something's, unhelpful things, violence happens on the Palestinian side, that could be a constraint. In the last Ramadan, I think, last year, Turkey intervened and tried to calm down the tensions. That might happen next year again. We'll see how that works out. This grain deal with Russia, you mentioned earlier, I wanted to touch upon that as well. I mean, it's in the interest of Russia to agree to extend that deal because it affects Russia's own relations with a number of countries that are having a hard time with food supplies networks, right? The food shortages could lead to disastrous situations in these countries, and that will diminish Russia's influence. Of course, Turkey is not in the business of making sure Russian influence is not diminished. That's not the point for Turkey, but Turkey has been playing the role of mediator between Ukraine and Russia. They tried to bring the leaders together. They tried to they brokered this grain deal. They brokered a deal to exchange important prisoners between the two countries. So I think Turkey will keep pushing on that front, and Russia probably wants to make it hard to get grain deal extended, maybe hoping for other concessions in other areas, because Turkey is also pushing, as far as I know, for cheaper gas prices. Russia has given discounts on oil to other countries, for instance. So on the one hand, Russia is in a difficult situation. It needs to, have good relations with the countries like non-Western countries, and then play nice with Turkey because Turkey didn't impose sanctions, and it's been trying to broker some sort of peace agreement between Ukraine and Russia. that will take time. So Ukrainians are fighting. They are asking for more advanced weapons. U.S. is providing those. But I think midterm elections, like we discussed, if there's divided government, if Republicans have more power next 2 years, there's already a lot of discussions among Republicans because Republicans have moved to a more Trumpian stance. So they're already questioning, why are we helping Ukraine? Why are we, to what end? When is this going to end? All these, billions of dollars we've given. I think U.S. just approved the largest defense budget, and there's a lot of money there for Ukraine. Congress is really willing to confront Russia. But that doesn't mean, there aren't critical voices on that front. So there's a lot of questions when, how this support will be utilized by Ukraine and to what end and when is this going to end. So, we'll see those debates as well, I think.
From Turkey's point of view, that means that the war will be prolonged. Maybe we can tell that if the United States keep supporting the Ukrainian army, keep sending weapons and even special forces.
Yes.
Recently, former CIA head Petraeus, he talked to TRT World, and he didn't say openly that special forces or organizations like Wagner will not be there for supporting Ukrainians, but we don't know if any other kind of organizations they may take part. So obviously it will continue. About this Israeli-Turkish relations, maybe I should also remind the fact that Benny Gantz, before he coming to Turkey, he cancelled his visit to Greece. So it caused an outrage in Greece, and they started to question why did it happen, what was the reason. So it shows that although from time to time Turkey feels contained by neighboring countries, but still with the maneuvers that the president implemented, Turkey can always open new gates, new roads, and can destabilize the alliance which works against Turkey. So I think this relations with Israel, this normalization also eases the tension one way or another. And also I think from Greek point of view, they cannot see the support they receive from other countries granted, so things may change. I think also this is one of the important things. Maybe we should also mention, as you said, the stability in the region, in the country is very important, and Turkey's dynamics is very different from any other country. Turkey is a Balkan state, a Mediterranean, a Black Sea, an Asian, a European, a Middle Eastern. So you have to play all the tournaments in this game. I think this is also important for Turkey to find a fine balance.
Yes.
Right.
The American expression, which I think Biden used it last week, we have to be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. So Turkey has been doing that for a while now, dealing with a number of issues, while the example you just gave, right? There's increased tensions with Greece, and then there's normalization with Israel. And Israel, I don't, like when they tried to develop their relations with Greece and Greek Cyprus, and there was some talk about, this pipeline in the Mediterranean. I think Israelis knew, everybody knew this wasn't really feasible, and it wasn't really smart or realistic to push, Turkey aside. That was just not going to happen. But of course, all countries develop relations, and then they try to, see where it goes, and then balance each other, etc. So that game was happening, and like you said, Defense Minister Gant's cancellation of his visit to Greece was kind of a balancing act, I guess, message to Greece that, look, we were never going to give up on Turkey, or act like Turkey doesn't exist, especially with this kind of foreign policy, let's say, activity on the Turkish side, right? Turkey is just very active in Libya, in the Balkans, like you said, in the Caucasus, and plays a major role. It's not just, diplomatic role where there are these visits and agreements, but not real game changer things. No, Turkey is changing the game in Libya, and it has stood its ground against Assad regime in Syria, for instance. Idlib region, it's not happy dandy, but at least it's not producing more refugees for Turkey. And then Caucasus, the war between Azerbaijan and Armenia, that has fundamental change. It was a frozen conflict for 30 years. Long story short, Turkey's critical role and willingness to act, right? Willingness to deploy resources, willingness to deploy military resources and take consequential action. So that's important. When you look at the world map, there aren't many countries who are doing that, right? So like we have Ukraine fighting back. They have an active army. They have, well trained, and they're doing things to defend their country. Russia is having a horrible time trying to take over the areas that it's trying to take over, and we've seen how bad their military capabilities are and their logistical capabilities are. Then, of course, American army is something else. That's a very global power that can project power in multiple scenes. Then there's Chinese power. So long story short, if you count, right, you're not going to get more than 6, 7, 8 countries who are actually doing things on the ground, who are able to project power in a serious way. So Turkey is one of them. Israel is not, let's say, is very cognizant of this fact, and they understand the importance of Turkey, and they would like good relations. So, and it has, they've succeeded under Trump to get some normalization deals with some Arab countries. So that is helping them, their regional standing. Interestingly, when it comes to their relations with Russia, they have a similar attitude to Turkey. They're not, they have not recently. What was that announcement about Ukraine? They said they're not going to provide. They're going to provide help, but not military help. So Washington wasn't, crazy happy about that. But they are giving some wiggle room to Israel, and Turkey is in a similar situation. So regional countries that are close to the West or part of the West like this, they try to still maintain relations with Russia because, of a number of different reasons. So between Turkey and Israel, it's an interesting period where you're seeing similar policies, confluence of interests in the energy, in the economic area, and then potential to do more things in the region. So I think that's why.
Yeah. Maybe one thing that we should mention about Turkey's foreign policy is the Turkic world. And
Yeah.
after the war in Karabakh,
Yes.
it became another venue for Turkey to explain itself, and Turkey is trying to bring those countries together as a unified force in the region. There will be a summit in coming days.
Mhm.
So that can also maybe play a role in Turkey's this multi-dimensional foreign policy. It's all the countries, including Turkey, are very, careful about not to provoke any reaction from other countries like Russia, because they have the CIS, or China, the Western powers. But still, we see a strong will of cooperation. I have joined some of the Turkic state meetings in Istanbul about media and academia. You also, I know, joined.
Yes.
So we see when we come together, these countries, the members, the citizens, people are willing to cooperate. Do you think this will also becomes another important international regional organization where countries come together and produce a new source of impact in the region? Also, imagine the Chinese Middle Corridor. They're all on the way. The security of the food chain, or any, the demand side. So supply chain. Sorry.
Yes, certainly. When we think about Turkey's foreign policy, and when we mention these regions, right, Middle East, Balkans, Caucasus, etc., it's not a static thing. It's an evolving thing, and after the Azerbaijan's war with Armenia and retrieval of their sort of lands that were under occupation by Armenia, Turkey has been building upon that, and they quickly announced that they were ready for normalization, or they wanted normalization talks with Armenia, and then they encouraged both Armenia and Azerbaijan to get a agreement, final, some peace settlement. President Erdogan, it's incredible actually. Was it last week? 10 days ago, he had Pashinyan on one side, and then
in Prague.
Aliyev in Prague. During a meeting of what was it? The Europe plus so many countries under.
I say the OSCE minus Russia.
Yes,
something
exactly.
Like
yeah, just recently, some 50 countries came together in Prague, and there, President Erdogan, had Pashinyan on one side and Aliyev on the other side, and these two countries, they just fought a year and a half ago, or 2 years, something like that. So basically, this is an example, important example, that Turkey tries to build upon it and tries to establish stability in that region, and then extend it even further out by engaging Turkic countries. And when the Berlin Wall fell, there was a lot of hope that Turkey could act as a new, friendly, brotherly country to the Turkic world. But we realized Turkey didn't really have a lot of capabilities, right? We couldn't offer that much to these former Soviet republics. Today, that's a different thing, right? Turkey is developing relations with these countries, has created this, has provided leadership for the organization of the Turkic countries, and these are serious conversations. It's not just gathering of countries where they just express some goodwill and then they don't see each other for a year. That's the difference with Turkish leader President Erdogan. He follows up on these, makes frequent visits, and tries to establish serious economic relations, military relations, defense relationships. So we are seeing that in the Middle East. We are seeing that in the Caucasus. We are seeing that in the Balkans. He makes frequent visits to Serbia, Bosnia, and I think this becomes especially important when sort of intra-regional alliances are difficult to build, right? Everybody is trying to balance each other. There's no overriding American leadership. There's no serious American policy on a number of issues. America is trying to focus on China, and perhaps that's important on that front as well. If you're going to have a China policy, you need to look at what China is trying to do in Central Asia as well. So I think Turkey's role will consistently be the role of a country that tries to establish peace and stability and strong relations with these countries, interdependencies with these countries. But in the West, this is not that well understood, to be very honest.
Stabilizing force is what also the president of the communications he mentions in his book, because as you mentioned, instability around Turkey has direct impact on Turkey's own stability and security. In my lifetime, I've seen 2 Iraq war, which sent...
which makes you a lucky guy.
in terms of journalism, yeah.
In terms of journalism,
but the thing is, when this Iraq war took place, we have seen influx of refugees from Iraq. We have seen killings. The economy got affected. Syria, same thing happened. Georgia, the war in the Karabakh war, Ukraine even, Russian-Ukrainian war. All of them have direct impact on Turkey because we are a natural safe haven, I believe. Today we can see Russians and Ukrainians who escaped from the war. They are coming to Turkey, and for this reason, for its own sake, Turkey needs stability, and as you said, Turkey is trying to share this with the neighboring countries. So, thank you very much, Kadir. Welcome to Istanbul again. It's nice to have you here.
Thank you, Bora.
So next week we will probably talk about the midterm elections in the US. Thank you for watching.